You're listening to the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. Now here's your hosts, Kevin, Derek, and Alex.
Alrighty, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. I am Derek, and joined as always by your co-host, Kevin. Kevin, how we doing?
Doing good, man. Got another weekend of some preseason football in. We actually have college, like week 0, the game in Dublin, I believe this weekend between Iowa State and K-State. It is full swing in draft season, whether it's best ball, season long, some last minute dynasty startups. I guess there could be a couple rookie drafts that are still going, but none that I'm involved in here at the moment, thank goodness. But yeah, so I've just been, indulging. I think that's what I've been doing. I've been indulging. It makes me happy. I love to see football on the TV. I don't care that these games don't count. I like seeing the backups in. Like I loved watching what I saw out of the Denver Broncos second string, this past Saturday. The whole thing makes me happy, dude. So I can't complain, dude. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, I am in the same boat. Just you cannot complain. Got really starting to see some things kind of shape up, and it's always interesting to see how the things that get kind of spun this early, and the narratives people start crafting over the this guy played 2 snaps more than this guy type of thing. And so it'll be interesting to see how some of this shakes out, but does always kind of crack me up that kind of some of the narratives that we see kind of coming through, and people's crafting some of these things off of a limited workload, limited thing. And this weekend will certainly tell a little bit more with that. And it'll be interesting to see how it ultimately shakes out. But certainly in a bunch of drafts right now, I have fully reached the never not on the clock moment in this season. It took a little bit longer than most years, but yeah, I was going through where I was telling you about some of these best balls that I was drafting then, and as well as some of these redraft season longs, going on as well. And it seems like the second that I put the app down or close the app out, I get a notification from either the same app or a different app saying that I'm on the clock again. So it is a lot of fun this time of year.
Heck yes. So all the strategies, all the different roster builds, some teams you walk away and you just love, and other teams you walk away and go, I wonder if I was half asleep when I drafted that one.
Right.
But no, it's good though, right? I mean, I think we've said this for years, right? This is my favorite time of the year, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get to go through the drafts and you get to build the roster, and the grind is good. If you enjoy the grind, and if you're playing fantasy football a lot, you probably do enjoy the grind. Some of the casual fans or casual players may not enjoy it quite as much. They only do 1 or 2 leagues. That's really all they want to deal with or whatever. But I mean, if you're getting even just north of like 10 or 15 leagues, it is a grind. And then you double or triple that as we have in some seasons, and it's a lot. But that's what best ball's for, right? Like, thank goodness for best ball leagues, because you don't have to deal with all of the in-season grind. You save that for the dynasty leagues.
Right. And that's the thing that I've been oh my. I thought I was in a bunch thinking 292 leagues this year. Now, Bacon, is that does that include best ball? Does that include best ball?
I think it has to, right? Like the majority has to be best ball, right?
Right. Like at that point, if not,
there's not enough time on a Tuesday to hit all the waiver wires and
right.
those.
You know what? Now I've just got to do the math on that to see what
Thursday
that
night roster inactives, and you're trying to do that last minute. Like, it has to.
Right. Oh, he's saying that's redraft only. So
sweet Lord.
I'm just
that might be the record, at least that I've seen.
Right. Like, I mean, if you're going through and just spending a minute on each of those 292 teams, that is going into waiver night. That is just south of 5 hours of time to go through each one of those, and that's if you spend 1 minute and 1 minute only on that. Any more time than that, it just adds on. So Beacon is in the almost got to be a full-time job type of thing there. 727 best ball teams this year. That's what he said.
Jeez.
So that is a bunch. So good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. So yeah, any news notes, anything that you want to hit up, or should we hit up some of these comments and then jump into the news notes?
I guess real quick. So Matthew Stafford was back at practice today, which is really good because his back had been bugging him, the disc issue, and backs just don't heal up, right? So that is some concern. Take that for what you will. As far as Puka and Devontae Adams goes, if you're a Puka and Devontae Adams believer, though, I can't believe that you're letting Matt Stafford get that far down the draft board either, because the two of them, if you think you're going to have, a top 15, top 20 wide receiver and a top 5 or 8 wide receiver, you're going to be putting some production on that quarterback spot. But I don't know. Neither here nor there. So there's that one. Devon Achane has a calf strain. That worries me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
A lot. These soft tissue injuries are bad. And with a calf or a hamstring that's used for explosive cuts, starting and stopping, everything that Achane is, right, runs through those legs. So this calf strain really bothers me. So, excuse me, as I'm choking on myself. So for the moment, Achane has been pulled off my draft board. Just full transparency. I am not going to deal with that, especially in high stakes leagues. Thoughts and prayers to Jalen McMillan and the neck sprain. That thing was scary. That was so scary. Heck of a catch. But you hate seeing guys. You hate seeing guys get injured like that. So obviously it means good things for Mbuka, right? As he's getting familiarized with that offense. So I think that's going to be a good thing for him. Daniel Jones was named the starter in Indy. Joe Flacco was named the starter in Cleveland. I think that was kind of it for like real quarterback battles. There is a large growing population of people that believe that the Seahawks are going to go through basically go through Groundhog's Day with having Milton and Sam Darnold as part of the Russell Wilson and your favorite quarterback, Derek. Matt Flynn. Yeah, Matt Flynn, like go through that round 2. That's interesting. Jackson Dart has looked really good. What was it? 13 straight completions.
Right.
This past weekend. Again, I understand it's backups, but still, these guys are out playing for jobs on the defense. Like these guys, they're not out there just to, say hi and say, hey, this is where I made it. These guys are competing. And Jackson Dart stepping out there completing 13 straight was really cool. The Redskins are looking at trading Brian Robinson, apparently.
Commanders these days, but yes.
Yeah, Commanders, Redskins. They're always going to be the Skins for me. I'm old.
Fair enough.
Washington Commanders. What else? No news on the Micah Parsons deal. No news on the Terry McLaurin deal. The Bengals are shopping
Trey Hendrickson.
Hendricks, yes, sorry. So there's going to be some shaking around here a little bit. So more news and notes, right? Obviously, there's still plenty that we haven't touched on, but those are kind of some of the highlights that kind of came out of the weekend. And off to the races we are.
Right. So yeah, it's interesting to see some of that, and yeah, the other one too that'll be interesting, right, is not necessarily much of a quarterback battle there, but I did happen to tune in and watch some of that New Orleans game, and with the Saints, I don't know that their quarterback depth chart is overly settled there either. So it'll be interesting to see how that one fully kind of shakes out, and who really is the starter over the course of the season. Because if you, depending upon where you look, they've, some sites have Rattler listed as QB1, some sites have Shuck listed as quarterback one. Shuck seemed to took the first snaps in the game on the game this weekend, but Rattler looked pretty good out there, so it'll be interesting to see how that one shakes out there as well. So, yeah. Any other thoughts before we start jumping into the comments? All righty. So Binkin saying that they're here. Way to be, Binkin. And then saying that people are angry about Danny Dimes getting the nod to start week 1 is hilarious. I think that just kind of goes to show the kind of the level of missing on draft prospects when these teams do this, right? Like, these teams get kind of enamored by the big athletic strong prospect, only to have them not starting or not even on the roster 3 to 4 years later, right? Like, not the first time we've seen a quarterback taken it at the 3rd draft spot overall, and not the QB1 on the team even 3 years into their tenure, right? We saw that with Trey Lance a few years back. We saw that currently playing out with Anthony Richardson. Any thoughts on this one?
Yeah. Well, some of it's to be expected, right? I mean, he had 7 career starts in college?
Right. Wasn't many.
Like, I mean, so to play the quarterback position and you're only having 7 career starts and then you get drafted into the NFL, like, the expectations were, yes, absolutely sky high for this kid. And the athleticism is there.
Uh-huh.
It's just maybe it is improving, but it's not improving enough to win the starting job right now, right? Because ultimately, the head coach and the GM have a job to do too, right? And so if Richardson truly doesn't give them the best chance to win right now, you put in the veteran. Daniel Jones is not sexy, but Daniel Jones has shown that he can navigate an NFL offense. The Giants teams that he played for the last couple of years before being moved, those offensive lines were terrible. He was constantly under siege. So a little bit better in Indianapolis, not as good as it used to be, but still a better offensive line than probably he's ever had. I would arguably say, as long as they stay healthy. Who knows? And it's better for the fantasy team of the Colts if Daniel Jones was quarterback. It's better for Michael Pittman. It's better for Tyler Warren. It's better, I believe, for Jonathan Taylor. Like, we're not going to be sniping, 5-yard rushing touchdowns from Anthony Richardson. They're going to turn around and hand it off to JT. So I think Josh Downs. I think this is better for Josh Downs because there's a more accurate deep ball coming from Daniel Jones. Not that he throws it down the field as often, so his ADOT is probably going to be less than what it would be with Anthony Richardson, but his completion percentage and the catch rate will probably go up. So you trade it off there. So I'm not surprised. I hope he's able to get it figured out because, it would be fun for fantasy if Richardson can, be able to truly dissect the defense and make the right read and complete the forward pass. But when you're completing passes at 47 to 53%, that just ain't going to cut it in today's NFL.
Right. I shoot even backed out that long ago when, you know, uh, you know, 50 to 55% completion percentage was considered good. 47 was still not really acceptable back then. So, let's see here. What other comments we got? Chris over on YouTube saying that if Robinson is traded, JCM definitely has high upside, but Eckler will probably get most third down looks, and Rodriguez isn't going to disappear.
Yeah. So Ja'Cory, what is it? Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, right? Is who we're talking about. 7th round pick. Has done well in camp for the Commanders. Obviously, he's getting a little buzz here, especially with the team feeling like he's good enough between Eckler and Chris Rodriguez.
Yeah.
And him. So making Robinson potentially expendable. Yeah, we'll see how it goes here. A lot of it, you got to find a trade partner. And right now, there hasn't been any starting running back deficiencies. Cowboys are Cowboys, but you're probably not going to see an interdivision trade between the Commanders and the Cowboys. So I'll interested to see what could pop up here. He doesn't fit the Dolphins' MO, even if Achane is out longer term. They have 2 young backs on that roster. They'll probably lean on them. So I'm not quite sure where Robinson would go to be successful. Right? He doesn't catch the ball out of the backfield well enough. Even if Pacheco were to go down for the Chiefs and kind of figure out what they do, they insert Kareem Hunt and then give him 16 touches a game and call it good. And so I'm not quite sure where that's going to go. I don't know that they're going to find anybody right away. I think a lot of teams are going to wait and they're going to see what the cut down is when all the teams have to get down to 52. Who they can pick up where they don't have to give up any capital to get. Like, it's a bad time to try and trade players unless they are all pro caliber players. So maybe week 3, you don't want to see an injury, but maybe one happens and it makes the team kind of needy. But right now I don't see a trade partner for this. So it's much ado about nothing, unfortunately. Like, I don't see a buyer for what the Commanders are selling.
Fair enough. Chris is excited about Mbuka, it sounds like here, and potentially moving all over the field there. Chris also bringing up the fact that talking about an insider with Seattle stamping Charbonnet as the lead back this year in Seattle. I don't know.
I'm gonna pass on that.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm buying that.
I understand if the season started today, maybe he'd get the first run because he's been a little bit healthier, right? That's been, again, Kenneth Walker. It's health, right? It's not Kenneth Walker's ability once he's on the field. It's keeping him on the field. So if the season started today, sure, Charbonnet would probably get the first run because he's more football ready. But if you give it 2 more weeks and Walker's back out on the practice field, like, he's going to get the one. Kenneth Walker is made for a Kubiak style zone block 1-cut scheme. That is not Zach Charbonnet's game. But players can adapt. And he did look decent the other night. So I'm not going to take that away from the guy. Zach Charbonnet looked decent. He is a great guy to have on your roster, whether it's just some running back depth, whether you want to use it as an early handcuff, just to make sure that you have Seattle's backfield, knowing that they're going to run the ball so much. I don't hate that mindset necessarily. So he's going to get plenty of run. Zach Charbonnet is not a scrub who's going to go out there and get you 0 points. He is a useful fantasy asset. I just don't think he's going to be the number 1 in Seattle when it's all said and done with.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Kenneth Walker, as you mentioned before, right, like, definitely fits this scheme with that one cut and go, north-south type of deal. And not only that, when Kenneth Walker hits a hole, he is extremely hard to bring down. which probably has led to some of the wear and tear and missing time in games over the last few seasons, is because of how aggressive of a runner and how difficult he is to bring down. Which, yeah, I really do think that the scheme fit for him with that Kubiak zone is going to look really, really good when we get to see it, and it's gonna be hard to deny that one when it comes to play. So, anyway, any other thoughts on any of the kind of the other comments going through here? We ready to start jumping in and getting some mocking going.
No, let's go ahead and jump it in.
All righty. So last week I was towards the top of the draft. So you get first dibs this week.
All right. It's out of that page. There we go. I'll take the front end.
Okay. Alrighty, let's get this blown up here. Alrighty, so you're taking the towards the 3. I'll go ahead and take the 10 on this one, and we'll start rocking and rolling from there. So kind of set the stage for everyone out there. This is a start 3 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 1 tight end, 3 should be oh, my apologies, I messed that up. Let's get that settings fixed real quick. It is a Superflex league, and so we are seeing that come to play there, where we'll ultimately have have it where there's 1 starting quarterback, 2 running backs starting, 3 wide receivers starting, 1 tight end, 2 flex, and a super flex, and then 4 bench spots on this one. And we'll go ahead and rock and roll from there. Kevin's drafting out of the 3 spot. I'm drafting out of the 10 spot. So we'll be kind of towards the edges there, and we can kind of work through that and show that as it goes. But before we get started into
D, let's just do the 1 quarterback, because the AI is bad enough, and it's not gonna adjust.
Fair enough.
It'll throw it all off because teams will be drafting quarterback way later than what they would in the Superflex.
Fair enough. All right, let's go ahead and get that fixed. All righty. So we are talking, though, so as we're doing the mock here, we'll kind of talk through it, what we'd be looking at here from a Superflex perspective, though, just simply from the standpoint we are talking about Superflex strategy tonight. And before we get into some of the Superflex strategy, or before we get into the mock, any tips, tricks, any your kind of thoughts when you look at doing a Superflex and going into that, and how that may change your draft strategy?
Well, so it pushes everything down a little bit, right? Particularly like the top, you could see anywhere from 5 to 7 quarterbacks go in the first round. Generally not anymore, but 5 to 7 quarterbacks generally go in the first round. And it's your standard 5, right? It's Allen, Jackson, Hurts, Burrow, Daniels, and
Sometimes Mahomes.
God, I hope not. He better not go that high.
So
he better not go that high. Hurts, Hurts, Burrow. So there's your 5, right? Daniels, Burrow, Hurts, Jackson, Allen. So outside of that, if I can't get my hands on one of those guys, I'm generally passing on quarterback in the first round. I'm going to fill it up with a top end skill position player. And then in the second round, depending on where I'm drafting and what it looks like, then I will look at my first one, potentially something like a Baker Mayfield, maybe a Bo Nix, somewhere in that line. After that first quarterback, though, I do kind of sit back and wait. Like, I am not overly gung-ho about grabbing 2 top end quarterbacks immediately. I would like to fill up the rest of my roster a little bit. Now, I will always carry 3 in a super flex league.
Yes.
I will always carry 3. I don't want a skill position player in my super flex spot. So I will, at towards the end, I might reach for my third guy a little bit, right? And he's a guy that I'm taking a bit of a gamble on, right? Like a Bryce Young, right? We're not quite sure what we're going to get out of him. There's been some buzz around Carolina. Okay, fine. Like, maybe maybe why can I not think of his name? Sam Darnold. There we go. And do something like that. Yes, it's more of a run first offense, but the play action does lead to some big plays down the field, so you can capture the touchdowns, on things like that. So just because it's a super flex doesn't mean that you have to go quarterback the first 2 rounds. There are teams that will do that, and they find a way to make it work. I tend to not take that approach. I will grab one. Like I said, I want one. If it's not those immediate top 5, I would really like to get Baker, Bo Nix. I really like Bo Nix because he's mobile enough. A sneaky guy that I really like for super flex leagues is Brock Purdy. Again, San Francisco on paper has the easiest schedule in the NFL. We'll see how it shakes out, but the easiest schedule in the NFL. I know that Ayuk's down. I know that Juwan Jennings has this hold-in / ankle deal, whatever. But I think with a healthy George Kittle, right now a healthy Christian McCaffrey, Ricky Pearsall, I do think that San Francisco just finds a way to get it done.
Sure.
Binkin's already hating on the San Francisco deal. For fantasy purposes, buddy, San Francisco is more attractive than Seattle.
Correct. Yeah, and I kind of like what you're saying there about the quarterbacks, right? Like that's one of those that's if I can get one of those few guys there, I don't mind taking that. More often than not, though, there's a lot of teams and a lot of folks out there that'll go through and really hammer home quarterbacks in a super flex in round 1 into round 2, and then you typically see another round into kind of another run in rounds 4 and 5, right? Like round 4, round 5, that's where I may start kind of dipping my toe into this one. But this year, when it comes to some of the super flexes and how that's playing out there, I am really kind of liking almost more of a quarterback by committee approach, right? And doing my rosters more so on a how deep the benches are, right? If I've got a league with deep benches, I'm going to try and put on kind of four quarterbacks, and all of them will be later on into it, right? Like I've really been trying to hammer like Dak, Tua, Trevor Lawrence, a Bryce Young. If I can get kind of those 4 in there, I can kind of just play by committee and kind of rotate through it without having to spend much draft capital early on in a lot of cases there. So I have really been liking doing that one there. But even this year, if I'm not doing like the going heavy on late quarterbacks in that one, still don't mind kind of waiting until you start getting into the Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott, Caleb Williams, CJ Stroud type of range to pull the trigger on the first quarterback, and then from there, kind of filling that in with what's next. But if you're going to go that approach, you have got to make sure that you've got a very solid roster the rest of the way through, because these other teams are going to create a positional advantage for them at quarterbacks. As we all know, quarterbacks tend to score more points to it. So you've got to be able to create positional advantages other places to it, and really be able to kind of pick your spots with the quarterbacks and either do the quarterback by committee or hope that you kind of strike late, because there is those quarterbacks to go late that one of them inevitably finishes up in the top 12 and kind of comes out of nowhere in a given year. So that's one of those that I really kind of been enjoying that way. But it is not for the that strategy is not one for folks that are looking to try and you know cherry pick around those types of deals. Like you've got to commit to it one way or another.
Yeah,
So
excuse me. Yeah, one other thing that I do try and do is I want at least one quarterback that is mobile, right? And so depending on how it falls, I look at different options. So if I'm able to get a Bo Nix who is kind of mobile, okay, well then I'm looking more, Caleb Williams doesn't, CJ Stroud doesn't run that much either, right? So CJ Stroud is a guy, you know, McCarthy doesn't, I don't think he's going to be overly mobile there. I think he can move, but I don't think I'm expecting big rushing yardage out of him. But on the flip side, if I'm drafting a guy, Baker Mayfield is a prime example. If I'm drafting Baker Mayfield or even Joe Burrow to a certain extent, one of those two guys, there's a good chance for my second quarterback, I'm looking for something like a Drake May or Justin Fields, right? Probably Drake May first because I think he's just going to be better through the air. Um, but Justin Fields is a guy that, yes, I understand his passing numbers may not be super great, but he can go out there and get you 85 yards on the ground and make up for a lot of those passing deficiencies in that super flex spot. So I do try and get at least one mobile guy in a perfect world. If I'm waiting just a little bit on quarterback, I'd love to have Bo Nix and Drake May both. I really would because I think May and Nix, I think they could have similar outputs. I think Bo Nix will be better than last year, but I think Drake May could be what Bo Nix was last year, if that makes sense, right? Like each take their own step up and kind of fill in to those areas, and you're getting them a little bit cheaper. So just random things like that. But I do not want two statues back there, right? Like I do not want um I do not want Baker Mayfield and then go all the way down the board and go, oh crap, I got to take Tua. Like I don't want two statues. Like I don't want to wait and wait and wait, and then I'm going C.J. Stroud and Tua or Matt Stafford, and I'm going, oh crap. Like I don't want to have to fall into that. I want one of the guys for sure to be able to use his legs a bit, and if they both can, that's money in the bank.
yeah, fair enough. It's yeah, and I like that. I like that there too. One of those that you're kind of mix matching and how that kind of comes to play there. So, yeah. Any other thoughts on some of the strategy before we just kind of hop in here and do a little mock?
Yeah, let's go.
All righty. So, as stated just a moment ago, we're going to be going through and doing a mock here, and yeah, originally we were going to think about doing the Superflex mocks, but as Kevin pointed out, the computer has a hard time keeping up in the best of scenarios, much less in the Superflexes. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of rock and roll with a standard draft here. We can certainly kind of talk about our points as we'd be going through and what we might be looking at if we were in a Superflex draft and going to go through that way. So let's go ahead and get it rocking.
All right, so Barkley 1, Jamar Chase number 2. It's kind of I'm both drafts last week and this week, right? We had a different guy at number 1. They're both running backs, which was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I think both of those are fine picks. I think I would lean Jamar Chase 1 overall and just bank with that only because I think Cincinnati's just going to be chucking it around the yard. I think high expectations, but I do think we could see Joe Burrow if they get off to even an average start in the first quarter of the season instead of coming out of the gate so sluggish. I think Joe Burrow could flirt with 45 plus touchdowns this year. So that only speaks good things for Jamar Chase. But in a situation like this with those two guys off the board, I'm I am torn because when it comes back to me, I don't typically love the wide receivers in the back end of round 2, but I can deal with the running backs in back end of round 2. And because I know this, I'm going to be leaning wide receiver here to start. I am going to take CD Lamb here over Justin Jefferson because of the rookie quarterback. I think McCarthy can do a good job, but I think I trust Dak to find CD a bit more than a rookie quarterback going under live fire for the first time.
Right. No, I like that thought, and I certainly would look that way as well. One of the other things that kind of gives me a little bit of pause with JJ right now is that
Hemi.
hamstring, right? Some of those soft tissues that you were speaking of earlier in the show, and this isn't his first hamstring issue that we've seen in his career. So does give
Different
me a little
leg,
bit of
if that
yeah,
makes you feel any better.
yeah, it does to an extent, and it's still a
And he did
camp
come back
handy.
to practice. And he did come back to practice today.
So fair enough. Um, After CD goes, then Jamar Gibbs, Justin Jefferson, Derrick Henry, Bijan Robinson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Ashton Genty, which puts me on the clock at number 10. Certainly some different ways that I could go here. Um, one of the things that I'm looking at and just going, I think that there is, right. We talk about those tier breaks all the time. I think there's a significant tier break with one running back left and then a significant tier break before the next one. So that'll ultimately be where I go with this pick. But looking at it as well, do like a lot of the wide receivers that are on the board that I could take in this position, right? Like really like the Puka Nakua, Malik Neighbors, Nico Collins, Brian Thomas. I don't have a problem starting my roster off with any one of those four wide receivers when in a start three type of wide receiver deal. And so when looking at it as well and kind of taking that into consideration, I'm going to make my pick, and then there's only four picks between me and then, and I'm going to bank on the fact that one of those four guys will fall back to me in this next round. Now, if I was looking at Superflex, if there's a guy, Jaden Daniels, Joe Burrow, somebody like that still available. There's, doubtful that Lamar or Josh Allen would have fallen this far, but if they were there, one of those two guys may take a shot there. But since not, we're rock and rolling this way. It is Christian McCaffrey with this pick. Alrighty. So after that, Puka Nakua, Malik Neighbors, Drake London, Brian Thomas go. So most of the guys that I was looking at had their name called on that. Nico Collins was a guy that I mentioned that I don't mind starting my team off that way. And because of that, that'll be the pick right here.
All right. Brock Bowers, the first tight on 10 off the board. Round 2 has been the sweet spot for him. If you really want Bowers, that's where you have to get him. Devon Achane, if he was healthy, I really like that stack with St. Brown. His calf injury, like I said, really has me worried. So I have him removed from my board here to begin with. Let's see. Josh Allen goes in the middle of round 2. Not surprising for Superflex or for standard leagues and Superflex leagues. Normally he's gone by pick 5, maybe 6 at the latest. Josh Jacobs, AJ Brown, Lad McConkey. All right, so I'm back on the clock here. So here's what I was talking about when I was up the first time. There's Tyreek Hill, JSN, T. Higgins, Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't necessarily love those guys in round 2. I think there's a lot of good running back value here at the back end of round 2 going into round 3. And so then it's just kind of your flavor of the month, right? Do you like Tyler or Jonathan Taylor? Are you a Bucky Irving believer? Again, Tristan Wirfs is still out. Like, I do think that's going to be harder on this running game for the Buccaneers than a lot of people are talking about. So that one is kind of a flag for me. Kyron Williams, the guy who they just keep drafting guys and putting behind him, and he holds them all off. Like Kyron Williams still finds 300 touches or 290 plus touches a season. So he's a big volume guy. For me here, though, I think going into the back end of round 2, I'm going to start with Jonathan Taylor because he will catch balls out of the backfield, and the depth behind him is rather lacking in Indianapolis here at the moment. Trey McBride at the back end of round 2, that's a little early for him, but there you have it. Then Lamar Jackson and Brown. So again, going back to Superflex League, we would be 7 quarterbacks deep by now in most cases. A lot of times at this 2-3 turn is where you see Baker and Bo Nix go. So your top 5, Baker and Bo Nix. So that's kind of where you can expect them to come off the board, maybe a little sooner if your league is all about the quarterback. But in most Superflex leagues where people are accustomed to playing it and it's not a true hometown league, they scrape through and they get back in round 2, beginning of round 3. So back on the clock here, I'm still faced with the same decisions that I was kind of before. Bucky, Hill, and Jigba, Higgins, Cook, Brees Hall, Jaden Daniels, Garrett Wilson. So this is why I don't like drafting at the beginning of drafts this year, is I don't love I just feel like this is a danger zone, right? It's almost baited. Like, do I go quarterback here? Like, maybe I would have gone Trey McBride had he fallen to me in round 3. Maybe I go there for some roster differentiation, but there is no way I'm taking JSN here. Sorry, dude. Like, he is not going to finish as a top 12 wide receiver. But yeah, so it's just kind of going through and seeing what we got here. So the question is who do I want to pair with the guys that I have to kind of start with? And I am torn. I am torn. So for the sake of the draft, here's why I'm going to do this. You have to start 3 wide receivers. I hate waiting until round 4 or 5 to grab my second wide receiver in a start 3 league because I feel like it puts you so far behind the 8 ball that you just can't stand it. So I am going to go with a guy who I think is going to have a big breakout year for us, and I'm going to go Marvin Harrison Jr. I have a ton of him all over the place this year.
Fair enough. And really like that Jonathan Taylor pick in the round 2, right? Like that one there, right? As much as you talked about the not liking that third round kind of turnaround, really like the running backs that are available at the back end of round 2 when you're drafting towards the top end there. And you're right, those wide receivers get a little tricky on that one there. But
so I will say real quick, between the middle of round 2 and the middle of round 3, I have not really seen any consistency as far as order of player taken off the board in a single quarterback league.
Right.
Like I've seen JSN go in the middle to end of round 2. I've seen Josh Jacobs fall down to round 3. I've seen Chase Brown go to the middle of round 3 even later. Like there is Ladd McConkey I've seen in that turn, but even going a bit later to the beginning of round 3. Like just so you guys are aware, that across any league, whether it's AI or human, I have not really seen any consistency between the middle of 2 and the middle of 3. So just be prepared to have your rankings in front of you to help navigate that.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly been a bit of a interesting one there. So that puts me on the clock here at the the 3:10 spot, and really kind of faced with the dilemma, right? Because James Cook being available this late, I don't mind taking him in the 3rd round here, right? Especially with that the contract kind of settled in and back in camp, ready to go there. Really like Garrett Wilson at this spot. But it does thin out kind of pretty quickly after those guys there. You don't mind the Mike Evans, Alvin Kamara type of range. The wide receivers though do start getting a little bit on the not necessarily the biggest fan there. So as much as I would lean towards going Garrett Wilson, I do like the James Cook and the value that's here for this one. You know, and I say that to then go, we're starting 3 wide receivers. I'm going to go ahead and take Garrett Wilson on this pick. Alrighty, so that then goes Alvin Kamara, James Cook, Terry McLaurin, Omarion Hampton. And with this one here, still feeling pretty good on this one because Mike Evans still available. Could certainly go that route and wouldn't mind going that one. I start my first 3 wide receivers and really at this point kind of have that anchor running back and then my wide receivers kind of finished out there. If I want to finish out my my starting running back here, guys like Kenneth Walker, Chuba Hubbard are on the board. James Conner still on the board there. But I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this one just from the standpoint that I don't know that I'm going to be overly excited on the wide receivers that ultimately fall back to me in the 5th. So we're going to go ahead and go with Mike Evans to finish off the wide receiver room.
It's a solid 3rd wide receiver.
Right.
Devonta Adams, Jalen Hurts, George Kittle. It's actually pretty good value for George Kittle in the middle of the 4th. Chuba Hubbard, Joe Burrow, Rashee Rice. All right, back into me here. Okay, so let's see. Going through this, Kenneth Walker, DK Metcalf, Connor, Moore, Sutton, kind of the top of the board here. So I like DJ Moore and Courtland Sutton a lot. Another guy I also like in that kind of same route or in that same grouping would be Devonta Smith. I think that he could I think he's going to have a bounce back year there in Philly because I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball as efficiently as they did last year. So passing game improvement. Ken Walker's a guy that I do really like in this Seattle offense. So he's been a guy that I've been kind of grabbing in a lot of different places. James Conner, I do like, but I don't want to pair him and Marvin Harrison together. That's not a stack that I'm comfortable with here in a redraft league. So I'm scrolling through here. I think one of these receivers is going to fall back to me. So I'm going to take Kenneth Walker here and see what falls my way. Bingo, got my way. Devonta Smith, DJ Moore, Zay Flowers, Pat Mahomes went, no big deal. But I am going to see here. I'm going to go a bit different. I don't have a whole lot of them, but we're going to see how this looks. I'm going to take DK Metcalf as my 3rd wide receiver, kind of being Aaron Rodgers' go-to receiver in Pittsburgh.
All righty. And not going to lie, the way that board started falling, I thought Courtland Sutton might make it back to me. And if that was the case, I was going to go another wide receiver here, but he didn't. And so that puts me back on the clock here. And some interesting things that kind of played out because after DK Metcalf, James Conner, Sam Laporta, David Montgomery, RJ Harvey, Courtland Sutton, and Xavier Worthy ended up coming off the board here. And so this is one of those that probably should start looking at trying to fill in this running back room a little bit. And a guy that's looked pretty good on the in the preseason so far is Bink can get out of my head here because that's what I'm thinking here. Is Henderson out of the New England?
He's looked so explosive for them.
Yeah, like he has, right? There's a couple of things though that I do look at take a peek at the wide receivers. Jameson Williams there, George Pickens there, both of those guys. Certainly some big play upside and where that looks at. But I think Henderson is the route that I'm going to go with this one. All right. After Henderson, Joe Mixon, Tet McMillan, Jameson Williams, Tony Pollard goes. Interesting. Tony Pollard going ahead of. Interesting. Kind of surprising there for me a little bit, but still leaves me. So puts me back on the clock here. My running back room so far, I've got my starters locked in. My wide receivers starters are locked in. Still have 3 flexes, a tight end, and a quarterback as far as starting positions available. But when looking at the at that, there's a couple of things that I kind of like here, right? Could look at George Pickens, which certainly big play, explosive play type of deal there as a 4th wide receiver and potential flex play. Like you're talking about upside on that one. Running backs, DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones. Wouldn't mind going the DeAndre Swift just from the standpoint, kind of has a little bit of that lone show there. And also TJ Hawkinson available. You know what? I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just hit the draft on DeAndre Swift and really kind of adds a little bit more depth at the running back room.
There you go. Pacheco goes. Hawkinson follows him. George Pickens, Travis Hunter, Aaron Jones, Calvin Ridley. All right. So let's see here. I don't feel like I have to worry about quarterback. So this is why having the board up in front of you is good, right? Because I can gamble probably pretty safely that the 2 teams after me, or the 4 picks who's next, are not going to take quarterback in these 4 picks. So I can focus in on skill position this round and then circle back up. And if I want to go quarterback in the 7th, then I can go quarterback in the 7th and feel pretty comfortable about it. So that said, Jalen Waddle, Chris Olave, who is kind of intriguing, Jerry Jeudy, then Roma Dunze are kind of next up as far as the wide receivers go. So let's see. I'm kind of started out here. So a guy that I want some filler. I'm going to gamble in a Ben Johnson offense. I think this is the situation, Derek, where I think I'm finally settled in here, that I'm going to take Roma Dunze, maybe a little bit early, but I like him better than Waddle or Olave.
Okay. I look at Olave in that position and just go draft. Like that's where I've been pretty
The
consistent.
concussions scare the crap out of me.
It does.
And just how his body just doesn't respond to them well, right? Like everybody handles them different, but Olave's body just does not respond to the concussions very well. So I'm
still,
that's where I hesitate a little bit.
Yeah, that's just one of those. I look at that as a guy that's potentially 4,000 plus as a 4th wide receiver and go, yes, please.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So back over to me. Let's see. Quarterback. Let's see. There's a lot of time in between picks here. I think I'm going to step in. Yep, I'm going to step in and get my quarterback here. So I'm going to play hometown boy. I like the mobility. I talked about him a bit earlier, but big things happening for Bo Nix. Welcome to the team.
All righty. And after Bo Nix goes, Judkins goes, Judy goes, Mark Andrews, Brian Robinson, Jordan Addison, Chris Godwin all come off the board. And that puts me back on the clock here. And kind of several things that I could look at and go with, right? Several wide receivers that I wouldn't mind going with, right? Jacoby Myers out there. Stephon Diggs wouldn't be a bad option for me to go with, and right, very well could see some explosion there. As far as the running backs, don't mind Travis Etienne, Tyrone Tracy. Both of those guys wouldn't mind seeing them on the roster in this spot. But a guy that I am very quickly approaching a tier break for me in the tight ends, and a guy that may very well be there for me in the 8th. But I just don't I don't want to take that risk that he's not going to be there. And there's enough players still available that I feel really good that in the 8th that I wouldn't mind taking here at the 7th. So I'm going to go ahead and go ahead and get my tight end and take Evan Ingram with this one. After Evan Ingram, Baker Mayfield, Stephon Diggs, Travis Etienne, Cooper Kupp all go. And so could go with Tyrone Tracy, who is the number one out there for the Giants as it's currently kind of shaping up. Jacoby Myers, kind of the wide receiver one out there in Vegas, right? So even deep into the draft could go this way and still add some good positional players, some good depth in there as well. These would be guys that would be falling into the into kind of the roster construct and strategy that I have. But one of the things that I am kind of looking at, and I'm kind of back and forth on, is I am looking at the quarterback room and kind of debating with myself on where to go there. But I think I'm going to hold off, and I'm going to actually take a little bit of a shot here and take Ricky Parasol, a guy that I hadn't mentioned yet, but could very well be wide receiver one for the Niners this year.
I like that. He was a guy I had on my short list for this pick. After him, Tyrone Tracy goes, which is a sneaky at least lead RB for the New York Giants as Scadabo's been dealing with some injury. Pair of Packers with Jaden Reed and Golden going, Jacoby Myers, Jalen Moore, and Khalil Shakir. So, all right. So that little run kind of depleted what some of my thoughts were going into my pick. So a couple different things I could do. Like, I like David Njoku a lot, especially with Joe Flacco being quarterback. So I could take him now. Again, the two teams after me, looking at their boards, already have tight ends. So I think that if I really want Njoku, I could probably wait until the next round and do something with him there. Debo's at the top of the wide receiver board. I don't want anything to do with Debo Samuel. I have not been a believer in him for a long time. And so I'm just going to continue to beat that drum here a little bit. So now is where we're going to see how things shake out. And I'm going to buy the camp hype, especially with McMillan getting injured this past weekend. We've talked about Mbuka here. So I am going to snag me some Mbuka in the what is this, in the 8th right now, and then coming back around on the 9th. Debo, Scadabo, Juwan Jennings, Javonte Williams. Let's see here. What do I want to do? How many of these teams don't have tight end? I'm gonna punt tight end. I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm gonna punt tight end. Screw it. All right. So here's where I'm torn. I'm torn at the moment between Zach Charbonnet and J.K. Dobbins. I like the fact of having Seattle having that Seattle backfield in general, but I don't know that I like the idea of having to fight it week in and week out. And then J.K. Dobbins is going to be the starter in Denver, but how long is he going to be the starter before Harvey kind of takes over for him? Or if they just end up splitting the carries there. So,
or Dobbins ends up having a health aversion.
Health aversion, right? So I'm going to see how this looks. I'm going to take Zach Charbonnet. I'm going to take Seattle's backfield. Oh, wow. And look at the tight ends fly off the board here where I didn't think they were going to.
Right?
Stupid computers.
So Njoku goes, then Tucker Kraft, Jordan Mason, Kyler Murray, Tyler Warren, Jared Goff, all going after that. And certainly kind of looking at that. One of the guys that I had on my short list, kind of coming back, and I was hoping would fall was Mbuka, but you snatched that one off the board. So kudos to you. But another guy that I was looking at and was hoping made it back to me was J.K. Dobbins. So I was glad that you did not make that selection, and so that I can make it with this pick right here. After J.K. Dobbins, then it's Najee Harris, Dak Prescott, Jonnu Smith, Justin Herbert. And little surprised that Dak Prescott went where he did, kind of jumped a few of the guys as far as the kind of rank of the ADP here, but I really would have probably put Dak on the roster here with this pick. But since he's gone, I'll go ahead and keep just kind of hammering positional players and skill positions. And one of the guys that I'm looking at, and I really do kind of like the fact that um, you know uh, um, why can't I think of the guy's name that just got named Indianapolis starting
Daniel
quarterback?
Jones.
Thank you. Daniel Jones, right? So the fact that Michael Pittman may have some catchable balls about 10 to 15 yards off the line, I'm going to go ahead and go with Michael Pittman here as my fifth wide receiver.
All right, so Pittman goes off the board. Josh Downs, his teammate, follows him. Ramondre Stevenson, Brandon Ayuk, Purdy, Spears, Caleb Williams. All right. Well, I am still in a mode where we're just gonna see how this goes. Screw it. Okay, so tight end. I'm gonna sit back and wait on tight end here for a while. Like, I did not expect the run that we got in round 9, but nevertheless it happened. So here, I'm gonna pivot off of that, and I'm gonna go wide receiver here again, because a guy that I think could be sneaky good if he's going to be as good as the reports are out of camp. I think that this could be a sneaky value here. And I'm going to take Keon Coleman out of Buffalo and just continue to stack depth on my wide receiver room. Then Colston Loveland, Dalton Kincaid, Darnell Mooney. Ooh, here we go, Derek. Kyle Pitts. Kyle freaking Pitts. No, I'm not doing that. I'm going to go Jaden Blue here and get a piece of whatever this Cowboys backfield may or may not look like. But the kid is explosive, and we've seen good things out of camp.
Fair enough. And after Jaden Blue, Kyle Pitts, Rashid Shaheed, CJ Stroud, Tank Bigsby, Justin Fields, Austin Eckler goes, that puts me on the clock here. And Binkin in the chat has been dogging some of my picks, with Parasol and Dobbins, and asking if it's worth passing on quarterbacks to pick them up. Simply,
I like that Parasol pick so much, though.
Yeah.
Like, I think he is like sneaky top 14. Like, he might just be outside of wide receiver 1 when this is all done with. Like, I really do like that Parasol pick.
Yeah, I like that one. I like the J.K. Dobbins there as well, right? As a fourth running back in the depth on that one. And Binkin saying that they're disappointed in my my quarterback room, but that's okay, because this next quarterback, right? Like, everybody is very firmly in the Bo Leave camp. Another guy that was drafted ahead of him is still on the board here, and does have a similar skill set with
Michael Penix.
I like it.
I couldn't help it. Sorry.
Fair enough. But another guy with a similar skill set still on the board, with a much improved offense, surroundings, the coaching staff got an overhaul, like all of these things. And a lot of people are looking at this and seeing a huge potential upswing. And I'm going to go ahead and take the shot on Drake May right here as my quarterback. A little bit mobile, and I think that we're going to see some good things out of that this year. Mario asking Joe Flacco. could go that route too. After Drake May, Dallas Goedert, Rashad White goes, then Jake Ferguson, then Trey Harris, and that would have been the tight end that I would have been wanting if I'd kind of kick that one down the road. Kevin is looking at the Jake Ferguson side of things, but so that puts me back on the clock here. And with that being said, on the clock, certainly could look at a couple of different ways that go here, right? There's a couple of guys potentially you're kind of reaching out and call him a name, so to speak. Nick Chubb here for some depth. Very well could be running back one in Houston to start the season. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play a little bit of quarterback by committee here. And I'm going to look down the road just a little bit. And a guy that, right, in a shortened season and in a putrid kind of offensive situation this last year, and a guy that we've seen him finish inside the top 10 and just outside of the top 12 in a couple of recent seasons. And I think we're going to see a bounce back here. And we're going to see Trevor Lawrence potentially be that guy that gets taken late in quarterbacks that can zoom up there and be, fringe QB1 when it's all said and done. So we're going to go ahead and double tap that one and play a little quarterback by committee.
All right. So Trey Benson, Luther Burden, Christian Kirk, Ray Davis, Jordan Love. There's the aforementioned Nick Chubb. All right. So at this point, I have completely punted tight end down the line. Screw it. So be it. So we get late in the draft here, and this is kind of where you start taking some flyers, right? Some guys who could possibly set the difference for you here. So the first guy I'm going to take is going to be in the running back room, and I'm going to take Dylan Sampson out of Cleveland here. I know they're still working on some of this legal thing with Judkins, and I'm not sure if he's actually going to be ready or what kind of shape he's actually going to be in here, but Sampson has flashed for the Browns. So he's a guy that I'm going to add some depth here to my running back room. Tyler Algier, JJ McCarthy, Marvin Mims, Isaac Garendo. All right. So I'm looking through here. And the crappy thing is I want this guy, but if I don't take him, I think Derek's going to. But that's okay. I'm going to take Hunter Henry here, let him pair him up with Drake May, see how it goes.
Fair enough. And so after Hunter Henry, Rashad Bateman, Tootin, Keenan Allen, Rico Dwaddle, Braylon Allen, and Zach Ertz go, puts me back on the clock here. And again, some pretty interesting routes that I could look at and potentially try and play into. But some of these I'm starting to look at what could be potential upside, potential stashes. You're kind of with my running back room here. I'm going to take the shot on a guy in Kareem Hunt who I think will get a much bigger role than what people are initially carving out in that Kansas City offense. Alrighty. After Hunt goes, then Jerome Ford, Cam Ward goes, Jalen Wright, Kyle Williams puts me back on the clock here. And again, several kind of different things that it could look at, right? Adam Thielen on the board is kind of the top wide receiver. Adam Thielen, we've certainly seen him flash at the very beginning of the last few seasons. There's the potential there to get something rock and rolling there. Could look at tight end to kind of bolster that up. Brenton Strange is the guy that kind of stands out in this particular situation. But I'm going to go ahead and go down the board just a little bit here and take a guy that they've said lots of really good things out of Denver. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the flyer on Pat Bryant.
All right. Derek took my guy. I knew you'd do it. All right. So Pat Bryant goes.
I left you the other one you were talking about pre-show.
Who the hell else?
You were talking about flyer on the old Wandell.
Nah, I like Pat Bryant better. Wandell's not exciting. He's not young. He's not young enough. So Adam Thielen, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, excuse me. Guys we talked about at the beginning of the show, getting a lot of buzz there. Josh Palmer, guy who's kind of been a sneaky pick there for Buffalo also. Hollywood Brown, Jalen McMillan, that guy's going to be poor IR'd. Then Michael Penix. All right, so Let's see here. Do I have anything hidden up my sleeve that I think will be tantalizing? And I really don't. Derek, Derek and I have a lot of same late round flyers, and so
Right.
it kind of went out the window. All right, so screw it. Um, Going back up, I there's Vegas receivers, right? Beck and Thornton. There's Tillman out of Cleveland, who's interesting, especially with Flacco being quarterback. I think Tillman could have a better season, but as soon as one of the young bucks, um, step in there, I think that does kind of go poo poo. Um, a guy who's been getting a lot of love. Um, a guy who's been getting a lot of love out of camp. Um, is a rookie tight end, Mason Taylor from the Jets. He spent a week, he's kind of dinged up for a week, kind of came back there. And since I waited so long on tight end, this is the only reason I'm going to carry two tight ends, guys. I can't stand, like, this is where the AI screws everything up. There's not this many teams who carry two tight ends. And if they do, they're not drafting them 2 rounds apart and all the silly stuff unless it's super late. So whatever. We're gonna go from there. But I'm gonna go Mason Taylor here because I think he's gonna start day one for the Jets and be a nice little security blanket for Fields. And then Woody Marks and Blake Corum kind of rounded out. So as we get deeper in here, some suggestions that I would have for those of you drafting key running backs that have clear backups, right? So this guy, team one, right? They ended with Blake Corum. They should have ended with Will Shipley. Right. Grab the guy in case Saquon goes down, you're protected. Now he did it for Kyron and he got Corum. So I can't hate that pick too terribly much. But it's just kind of one of those things. Like Derrick Henry, you need Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs, but I definitely would have been looking to pass on Hollywood Brown and maybe you grab one of their backups. Um, I think where the Brees Hall team kind of made a mistake is Braylon Allen. They took Rico Dwaddle instead of Braylon Allen. Um, Again, side by side, like you had the chance to get your handcuff that late in the game. Um, Derek, I'm surprised you didn't go with a Niner running back instead of Kareem Hunt to protect CMC.
Right.
Like,
Still could go out there and pick it up off the waivers, but
absolutely, you absolutely can. Right? It just food for thought there on some of the top end backups. Like I know I kind of went to the extreme and the Seattle handcuff. Part of the reason, Binkin, I saw your comments about Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason's injury history. Like if I already have Kenneth Walker with an injury history and Jordan Mason has a small injury history as well, I would rather have the pivot right away from Kenneth Walker if he gets injured to Zach Charbonnet, who's shown that he can handle that entire workload for a couple weeks, as opposed to two separate guys on two different teams with an injury history, because I don't want to be right, but that could cross paths really easily and kind of derail my thinner running back room than what I probably expected when I started out with this draft.
fair enough. And the other thing too with San Francisco, right? The trying to understand the mind of Kyle Shanahan and what his true depth chart looks like on if McCaffrey goes down, on who that is not a game I want to play right now. So we'll just wait until that comes to pass, and if something happens, we'll be all up in the fab.
Well, the last couple of years, it hadn't been the next guy; it's been the third guy.
Right. So it would have been
So it's
like
not
Jordan
Garindo, it's
James.
Jordan James. Yeah,
Right.
that's who I was thinking. Like, take the flyer on him late.
Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, very it's always kind of fun when trying to figure some of those out with some of those teams where the depth chart doesn't necessarily lead to what the actual chart of depth is. So
Right.
alrighty. I don't know if you saw Binkin tried to give us our grades for the
I
draft.
saw it. I saw.
Yeah, saying that you got
He really didn't like that you waited on quarterback, but I think for waiting that long and double tapping Drake May and Trevor Lawrence, I think
right.
that's about the best outcome you could have hoped for. Again, you get to play the matchups. You get to see if the rebound for Trevor Lawrence is actually going to happen. You get to hit the upside of Drake May, who I touched on earlier, as a really nice pairing as a second quarterback in a Superflex league that I like this year. Um, it- I think you'll be okay.
Right. Yeah, I'm not concerned with this one, and it is one of those that, right, if you're going to wait on quarterback, right, which certainly waited, you can get into the quarterback by committee type of strategy there, which feel pretty good about this committee, right? Can rotate through that. Also, not necessarily pot committed to any one of the quarterbacks. So, yeah, if there's something else that comes up and off the waiver wire, some things start playing out there, can really start kind of bringing that thing home. And Binkin's asking, did anyone draft JCM? I don't believe.
Yes, he went in the last round, team 8.
Okay. Yep, sure did. Pick 1405. So, but yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how that one shakes out there. Any additional thoughts? Any team that really kind of stood out to you as far as this draft goes?
Honestly, I really do like team 11. Like, I think they'd probably want a little bit more receiver depth, right? Maybe instead of Joe Mixon there, like I would have taken Tet McMillan over Joe Mixon with his injury deal going on here. But outside of that and just switching that pick around, I really do like team 11. Getting Goddard late, again, it's not super sexy when you wait on tight end. You're just kind of subjecting yourself to the fact that you know you're going to be streaming them week in and week out. But overall, that build's nice. Puka, Brian Thomas, Kamara, Amarian Hampton. Amarian Hampton in the fourth, I love. I love that pick in the fourth. Like, especially that Najee's really not getting back on the field and progressing like we thought he would, or that they made it seem after the 4th of July. It just means the sky's the limit for Hampton. Tony Pollard, I like a lot. Hell, he got Najee too, so he paired that up late. So there's a lot about Team 11 that I really think is a good team. I think Team 8 started out okay, but they waited way too long for another running back. Again, AI, what are you going to do?
Right.
But really the first 5-6 rounds is nice, but it's kind of a prime example of why you don't want to go. Team 7's the same way. Why you don't want to go early quarterback and early tight end is it just messes up the depth of your skill position players. Like team 7 stacked at running back. Okay, great. His wide receivers leave a lot to be desired, right? Pickens is a number 2. Golden, okay. Golden, yes, is getting a lot of hype out of camp, but we've seen how Green Bay's treated wide receivers here the last couple of years, and it's just a smorgasbord of just, bird shot, right? Like for those of you hunt, it's a bird shot, right? Just everybody gets something. So that'll be interesting. I don't think they needed to pair Kyler up with that. Like that would have been probably a better spot for them to take Dobbins, honestly, and at least be able to solidify part of that running back room. But overall, I felt like the AI was a bit more consistent this week and reasonable than what it was last week.
All right. Yeah, certainly as it gets closer and all those drafts start taking place, the data starts compiling more so there. Binkin saying he would like to have seen me take Mbuka instead of Parasol. Like I get it. And you ended up with Mbuka, but
and I was eyeing Parasol, right? It was just
right.
kind of pivoted over.
Right. So that does lead to the question: if both Parasol and Mbuka were on the board at that pick, which one would you go with?
I'm taking Parasol.
Okay. And I obviously made the same choice when it was there. A lot of that has to do with the fact that yes, Mbuka is kind of that flashy young rookie, right? Everybody's talking about the McMillan side of things, pushing that pushing him up and expanding his role in that offense. Mike Evans is still the wide receiver 1 on that team, right? Like Mbuka is going to come in as the wide receiver 2 on this one.
And Godwin got paid. too,
Right.
right? Godwin did dislocate his ankle, but Godwin got paid too. And I think Mbuka's going to have a great year. And I think Baker and that Tampa Bay offense can feed three receivers. But when you're looking at a 2A or B type receiver, and that's what Mbuka is this year, right? If Mike Evans retires at the end of the season, he might be the clear number one going next year. But if we're looking this year in a redraft league, and Buka's the 2A or B, depending on how you feel about Chris Godwin and what it's going to look like when all three of those guys are healthy, give me the number one. Give me the guy who's been in camp day in and day out. Give me the guy that is building rapport solely, basically, as far as a quarterback receiver relationship goes, that the quarterback's not having to split his time out. Like, for me personally, I think Parasol's ceiling is higher this year. And if I'm wrong, that's okay, but I don't think I'm going to be wrong by very many points. Like, I think we're talking maybe 10 points separated by the end of the season if everything that we're hearing about Mbuka is true.
Right. I did like this comment saying that Jennings and Ayuk are still there. You're right. They are still there.
Ayuk's not going to be back till like week 11, and Jennings is already having ankle calf issues and fighting over a contract. So it's all distraction stuff. So Jennings hadn't been practicing so this is just stuff that I care about.
Right. And very telling with Shanahan coming out saying earlier in the season that they might get Ayuk back by week 6. Like that was might, right? And this is the same organization.
Might be week 6, might be week 10, right? In that Shanahan's quote, like
right. And this is from an organization last year that constantly kept going, oh yeah, McCaffrey's just dealing with it, like downplayed it to the point where it sounded like very minor and then missed the vast majority of the season, right? So, and Jennings, the soft tissues do concern me. So,
and here's the deal with Jennings. Jennings was always kind of like a wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 type guy.
Right.
And then sudden, like, how old is he? 29 now? Like in his age 29 season, he finally decides to
have a coming out party.
Like, what's more realistic, that that's going to be sustainable, or the fact that he had a really good year in a time where, Ayuk was playing like trash, Debo is Debo, and everyone just kind of focused on him when he was on the field.
And then he was hurt for a lot of it.
Yeah. So I just 28, not 29. I misspoke. But here's his half point PPR finishes. In 21, he was 85th. In 22, he was 90th. In 23, he was 110th. And then last year, he finished as wide receiver 25. Like, I'm not going to overbuy a 28-year-old receiver who's had one fantasy serviceable year. Other than that, he was an injury depleted spot fill in at best. And if you started him on the right week in each of those 3 seasons prior, you were happy with it. But if you didn't start him on the right week, he was a wasted roster space.
Yeah. This is an interesting one. Binkin saying that Parasol is a wide receiver 3 on any team in their opinion. It's an interesting
take. Any NFL team?
That's the way it reads to me. I would tell you if he's on the Broncos, he's instantly at least wide receiver 2.
I'd tell you the Saints, he's wide receiver 2. I'd tell you he's fighting for number 1 with the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
I'd tell you he'd fight for number 1 with Jerry Jeudy and the Browns, or Michael Pittman on the Colts.
He'd be number 2 on Arizona.
Number 2 on the Jets. Like, see, I mean, semantics, but
right.
Just my opinion on it, right? Like, it's just how we choose to see it.
Right.
He's one of my guys this year, so I'm going to defend him.
Fair enough. And I think you've kind of brought me around on my thinking on Parasol there, but I think he'll end up having a good season. I do think that he's got he's got a really good ceiling for a lot of the players that you're drafting in that realm, right?
I think it's great.
Most of the
I think
guys,
his ceiling's like 11, right? His ceiling is like wide receiver 11 if he just goes bananas. But I think his floor is like wide receiver 23. And you're getting him at such a like at that range. Who cares? Like, take the value.
and I think I might be a little bit lower on that, but I think that you're still looking wide receiver 27, 28 as the floor. So I've got a little bit more risk in there, right? A little bit more range to it, but when it's all said and done, I do think that there's tremendous value when you're drafting, because you're drafting him, at the floor in most cases. I think. But you're just saying that Parasol's the person that they're out on completely,
And that's fair.
and that's
Everybody has a guy like that, right? Like
right.
Debo Samuel is that guy for me.
Yep.
Like I don't care what Debo does. Like Debo Samuel's that guy for me. There is not a force on heaven or earth that will convince me to draft Debo Samuel. I don't care if I do 1,000 drafts. Debo Samuel will be on 0 rosters. Like, I'm just not doing it.
Xavier Worthy would be a guy like that for me, right? It would take Xavier Worthy in like the 10th or 11th round before I'd
It's
take
where
that.
he's going that I'm scared of Xavier Worthy, right? Like, I like the player and the prospect, but I don't know.
Right. So yeah, that's one that's a 5th, 6th round pick where he's kind of consistently going. No thanks. Like, it would take, you'd have to almost double that ADP for me to be like, okay, maybe at this point I'll take a pick, but
Yeah, take Pickens or
right,
Williams or someone in that category. Just no thanks.
right.
Travis Hunter. Give me Travis Hunter over Debo Samuel.
Yeah, I could see that. Jalen Waddle's a guy that I have a hard time drafting.
Yeah, I tried last year and I got scorned, and so now I'm dealing with.
You got the bitter recency bias.
Just a little bit, right? Now, I don't know. Maybe he does boom back, right? If the chemistry between Tyreek and Tua is so bad, but it's working with Waddle, like maybe we actually see Jalen Waddle like show out again. Because I think there's a lot of offenses he could have been a true number 1 in the right situation. Miami just happened to get Tyreek.
Right.
And so I understand why he got pushed down, but I mean, same thing. Honestly, with Devonta Smith, the dude won a freaking Heisman, and you're telling me he's only a number 2 wide receiver? Like, he happened to get paired with AJ Brown,
and that's
like a physical freak. Like, I get it, but these guys that have that type of number 2 it's a nice luxury to have. I think the Cowboys are in that boat now. Like, I'm a George Pickens guy.
Right.
I'm a homer. Like, I'm a homer. I'm not going to fade that, but I've been hammering George Pickens since, his sophomore season at Georgia, and I'm not going to fade off of that.
Fair enough. And that's it's interesting, right? The Eagles in their wide receiver room, they've got a lot of talent there. However, they're one of the lowest passing teams out there.
That'll change. Like I said, I don't think they're going to be as efficient on the ground this coming season. So I think you'll see those numbers tick back up. But they were hyper efficient because they ran the ball so well. So you can deal with, the low volume when they're high quality targets.
That's fair.
Most teams can't. The Eagles last year could.
Fair enough. All righty. Well, I think that's kind of takes us down here to a lot of the kind of the end of the comments. Although Binkin saying that Ladd in the second is a little too high for them, maybe at the 2-3 turn.
Yeah, right. It's kind of one of those, like, if you believe it, you're going to go get it.
Right.
Kind of guys. Like, again, you get into that middle second to middle third round, kind of like what I was talking about in the middle, and there's no consistent pecking order. Like, everybody's just kind of grabbing their guy in that area. So yeah, you could see McConkey get to that 2-3 turn instead of more of the middle of the second round. It entirely possible, but I think for what he is, I mean, he's a number one on a team that's, yeah, they're going to run the ball first, but it's a number one with a team that's a really good quarterback, and they're still running the ball first. Like, Justin Herbert is not a slouch. He's just in a run first offense. Like, that is the Jim Harbaugh effect.
It's very true. All righty. Well, I think that's going to take us down here to the end of it. Any final thoughts out there for the viewers and listeners?
Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. Y'all, please go over to YouTube and give us a like and subscribe. You'll get the little notifications when we go live here next Tuesday. Only a couple more single show weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Here in a couple weeks, Derek and I are going to be hitting it up on Friday nights as well for the Bet Set Snap. And we'll be going through a lot of game lines, player props, anything that kind of sticks out, a lot of roster questions, right? Like, it's a really interactive, a really interactive show, and one that I really enjoy. I like this show, but I think I like the Friday shows just a little bit more. They're not, because it's not scripted at all. Like, we walk in knowing that we're going to touch on,
maybe we might touch on this thing, but
yeah, like maybe some game lines, maybe some player props, but we've had shows last 3 hours 1 week last year, right, where it's just nothing but consistent questions and good questions, and so we just roll with it. So Friday nights are an awesome show that are a whole lot of fun at the beginning of the season.
Right. And yes, the Bet Set Snap is also one of my favorites as well, right? And certainly coming up on that one. I think this one is actually the last week that we don't have a right? No, it'll be
two more. You got two more.
Sorry, I was looking so forward to it. I was trying to move it up a week. But no, it'll be a lot of fun. So I hope to see a lot of folks there on the Fridays. Again, that one's right around 11 p.m. Eastern when we go live on that one, helping folks get ready for the weekend and their roster alignments and all of that. And so do appreciate everybody tuning in, chiming in, all the questions, the comments, all of that always makes the shows a lot of fun. So appreciate y'all. And as Kevin mentioned, head over to YouTube, click that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us on all the socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at Good Old Boys FF, and can connect with us there as well. Pinkin's still trying to let me know that Mbuka is better than Parasol, but we shall see.
Just screenshot it. I'm interested to see how this one shakes out now. Mm-hmm. Like, we might just have to write this one down and stick it away until we get to the end of the year and see how it looks.
Right. One of those that could be. You've given me an idea. We'll talk here in a minute on that one, but that it could be fun. So yeah, I like it. Binkin is all in on Mbuka, and you and I are more so on the Parasol train there. So it could be a lot of fun, and I'm sure that we'll be hashing this one out throughout the season there, Binkin. But that's going to do it for us tonight. He's Kevin. I'm Derek. We look forward to seeing Alex back here soon. He's doing some family stuff, so we'll probably see him back here sooner than later. But look forward to chatting and talking with everybody, and we'll be back here next week. Again, he's Kevin. I'm Derek. Have a good one. Be safe. Toodaloos.